Welcome to the Stories That Sparkle. I'm Hella Rader, and boy, are you in for a treat today, y'all. I mean, woohoo! I sit down with Kristen in Boulder, Colorado. This was during the Discoball Tour. It's episode 11 that I recorded during that tour. Anyway, I met Kristen for the very first time the minute I walked into her apartment. I was introduced to her by a mutual friend who lives where I live. And so, yeah, it was a whole great, beautiful example of this whole endeavor of connections made and new friends made. So it was a wonderful experience. And the thing that drew me to her that I really wanted to ask her about were the 4 letters in her Instagram profile, BDSM. Because, yes, she's a pro dominatrix. She works with people and couples on intimacy. And wow, yeah, there's so much going on here because we get into her whole story of what led her to that. What that is for her. It includes a lot of somatic work to heal her body and get in touch with her body. So yeah, there's a lot in here that's just amazing. And as a somatic practitioner in training, it was a real treat for me to speak with someone about their journey through that and relate it to my own. And just, yeah, it's just a joy, pleasure, and delight. The whole thing, joy, pleasure, and delight. So yeah. If you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable with this whole thing like I was, and some days still can, don't worry, y'all. I got you. And there will be all kinds of resources at the end / in the show notes, so go check that out. But for now, I invite you to get comfortable, sit back, and listen in. I'm Hella Rader. With a good sense of humor, an open heart, and an open mind, I love to explore the very human complexities in others and in myself. That's why I created a space for women you have never heard of and could easily pass on the street to share in their own voices the intricacies of starting over in life, building community, inhabiting their bodies, and more. Welcome to our Discoball, the stories that sparkle. Yay! Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see you.
You too.
Thank you for joining me on this. We're in Boulder, Colorado, by the way.
Yes.
Y'all. I say y'all a lot.
Me too.
Oh, good. Ah, I love this. I literally just pulled in. Never met you before. This is awesome. I'm like, hi, hugs. I love it.
I feel like a Winchester connection is just,
yes.
There's something there.
There is something there.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we were connected through a mutual friend who lives in, near Winchester. Mm-hmm. And so then I was like, okay. She was like, oh, she lives in Boulder. You're going through dinner. Da, 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 da. So I'm like, all right. And so I got connected. I checked out your Instagram, as this is how we do these days. And I was like, what's happening here? I'm so endlessly curious now, because at the time you still had astrologer on your in your profile.
Yeah,
that's no longer there.
Yes, so I recently deleted that.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's it. I noticed that, and I was like, well, this is curious, even more curious. And then there's just these 4 letters, BDSM, that stood out to my brain because Hella has that kind of like, what is this? A term I've heard bounce around, be spoken of, yada, yada, and I have zero clue when I think about it. What does that actually mean? And so I'm really grateful to you for basically helping me understand a little bit more about this universe and your journey with it and into it and all the things.
Yeah.
So that's a very broad statement. But yeah, so I'm just, I know you moved here from the East Coast at some point. So I'm just curious, like, how does this whole journey begin for you, and how do you end up in the place you are today?
Yeah. Thanks for your curiosity. It's funny that you were drawn to the letters BDSM, because I think, it's like everyone has sort of this conception of like BDSM. It's almost like scary, or like, oh, what is that? And where to begin? What I would say is, so now, present day, I'm a pro dominatrix, which I'll explain.
Okay, thank you, because I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't want to be you. I don't want to assume I know. Okay, go ahead.
I'm also like an intimacy guide and mentor. And I was a practicing professional astrologer for like 6 years, and that has just like recently really started to fade in terms of practicing professionally. And, you know, my journey, I mean, I feel like I always say like I've lived many lifetimes, like this lifetime, because my journey sort of began like just totally different. I worked in international development for like almost a decade. I was working in poverty reduction and sustainable ag and microfinance, and was like really focused on production and like producing, and like I would say now from where I am now, the perspective is like my worth was really externalized, you know, and I felt like I had to do well in the world to be loved.
Right, like what you're doing equals how lovable
equals
you are, or your
validation
worth.
and totally.
Yeah, I get that. It's been a real journey for me too, so I get that.
I think all of us,
Yeah.
many of us, right?
Yeah.
And yet I was still like kind of reconciling with this part in me that like wanted to do things differently than everyone else, kind of knew like, wait, there's another way to live, you know?
Just a quick aside,
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
My motto for the last, I'm going to say 6 months has been, what if there's another way?
Yes.
So just boing, brain explosion moment situation, mind blown. So,
Well, I mean, I want to stay there for a second. I actually think this is what the collective is being invited into right now, this year and next year in particular. It's like the loudest it's been for anyone who's alive right now is like, wait, if I slow down and listen, I think there's another way here. There's another way that we can live.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And love.
Ooh, I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Live and love.
Well, and like actually love each other.
Yeah.
You know, everyone sort of thing. And yeah, so that's here. Like I just think that's here in the collective right now. And the beauty is that like it shows up for everyone differently, right? Like what is your way to live differently? What is my way to live differently? Having an astrology background, I like to connect individual to collective perspective a lot. So that's just kind of why I'm doing that. But yeah, so basically I was like doing my thing, you know, like already kind of being a weirdo, like living abroad and like living in all these wild places like East Africa and Latin America. And then I got really sick. So at 29, my body like shut down, like full on. I was living in France at the time, about to start like my dream job in that moment of my life. And my body just really started shutting down completely, like my nervous system. I got vertigo so extreme that I could not barely stand or walk at all. Many, many things were happening. And it was like the moment where it was like, my body just really was like, I'm here to guide you and you have to start listening. And that was the beginning of starting to learn how to listen to my body. And it took forever. I mean, it was. Yeah,
it's a journey.
Yeah, very slow. I mean, my body had to keep screaming for a while. And it was the kind of illness that like Western medicine was just like, you seem fine. Like, you know, we ruled out all of the major things like brain tumors and those kinds of things. And then it was like, you have anxiety or, you know, and that was probably like a 6-year journey of really healing and like coming into wholeness. And I actually didn't start to heal from all the physical symptoms, because initially I was just approaching it from like what I knew, which was like heal the symptoms, heal what's wrong with your body. And then slowly, you know, first it was like through acupuncture, and then it was like through Reiki, and then really, really good massage therapists. Slowly, I was guided to somatic work. And like that, my unfelt emotions and like trauma that was just like stuffed in my body was actually like the root cause of what was happening to my nervous system and therefore my immune system.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was literally all that held trauma,
So much.
emotion, all the things was expressing itself in a complete body shutdown of some sort.
I mean, it'd been like basically after 3 decades of being on this earth, my nervous system started to just like, it was like, we can't function like this anymore, you know? And it showed up as like mold illness. Like I just started becoming really overly sensitive to my environment, and mold was like black mold was one of the big kickers. But then I started to relate to my actual, I just started to learn how to like be with sensation in my body and feel the wild amount of grief and anger that was like living inside of me.
Wow. Yeah. And the anger, I think is, that's one of those that's like, my journey with that has been like, I'm not allowed to feel the anger, which is why I stuffed it down. Or it's scary if the anger comes out, like, oh no, don't do that. But actually I need to release it in a safe container so that it's not running the show. Underneath. Yeah.
It's interesting for me with anger. So my dad was he died when I was 21, and he was like a raging alcoholic. And so he created a lot of delusion and a lot of like lack of safety in my life. And so I actually spent most of my life while he was alive being really angry at him. Like, so I had this relationship with anger, but like, I was like bypassing the grief. I was like bypassing the like deep sadness and abandonment that I felt. It was like, what is my dad doing? You know? So, I mean, and that could be like a whole story in itself, but basically that was like the beginning of like finding somatic work. I remember in 2019, I don't know if you've heard of, this is like a shout out to, I don't even know if she's an influencer anymore, but I don't know if you've heard of Yoga Girl.
No.
So I found her on Instagram. She's like, she's just like an influencer type, but she used to run retreats. And in 2019, so I was like already I was sort of in it at this point. I was like starting to be like, okay, like chronic illness is connected to trauma and like nervous system health. And I was sort of slowly finding my way, but still very sick and still like it hadn't switched yet. And then I ended up at one of her retreats that was an Osho inspired retreat. Have you heard of Osho?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've watched that documentary.
Yeah, the documentary is super interesting.
It is super wild country, just so you know. And I'm always, got it. No, I get that. Well, that's the thing. When I watched that, I was like, well, there's something to do.
There's a lot of good stuff there.
There's a lot, but then it kind of went horribly sideways for a number of reasons. And that's always the problem to me when there's a guru involved or there's a person or a person's at the top of some sort of thing. I always get very wary. I've seen it in Christian situations and churches as much as I've seen it in other types of spiritual communities. So I always have a hair trigger like radar for that crap. Totally. I'm like, nope.
But I think what he did is he brought Tantra to the West in a lot of ways. So like his teachings are actually pervasive in a lot of, he's one of the people that kind of brought it over. And, but that retreat, it was like the first legit, like truly somatic retreat I went to, and it changed my life.
Right.
Like everything was different after that moment because I learned how to like actually move emotion and energy through my body. And I think it was a Kundalini awakening moment. Honestly, it was like, my body, at that time, my body started shaking, and it hasn't stopped shaking, but there was like a couple years where it was just like shaking all the time. Cause it just like, it hit something in me where there was like this deep, deep release and opening.
Right.
And from that moment on, everything changed. So like right around that time, I also found astrology, and I got really into astrology because anyone who's had chronic illness, it's almost impossible to not feel like a victim because there's so much mystery in chronic illness. You don't know why it's happening to you, and you don't know how to fix it.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I've never heard it put like that. I lived with someone who had chronic illnesses and was badly injured, and it made it worse, and all the things. And so I've had I've had to recover a lot from
being
living in
yeah.
that, because of his journey, not mine. And there were some other things there that were unrelated to his journey that then did impact mine. So there was a lot of layers to that story, right? And I love the way you just put that. There's a lot of mystery, and it's really hard to not feel like a victim, because you can't put it together. Like, what is this, and what is happening to me?
It's wild because, a lot of people in somatic work, I'm sure you've heard this, like, the only way out is through. And so literally I had so many people telling me, you have to feel your body. You have to be with your body. But at that time when you're sick, your body is in insane amounts of pain. Right. And it feels like your body's betraying you. So it's so hard. And you go into victim, like you just do, because you're like, this isn't fair. I was in my early 30s. It was like, I want to be vital,
right.
Yeah. And astrology helped me understand the larger picture. It connected me to my soul. Because astrology is actually really about like your soul path and how it comes down and through your personality. And it helps me understand, like for example, I have never had anyone tell me, Kristen, you're sensitive, until I got an astrology reading.
Wow, yeah.
Something now, 10 years later, it's like so simple, but like back then I didn't understand like what was happening to me. And astrology gave me the language to wrap my mind around it and be like, oh, like this is part of your path. You have to feel things in your body. You have to alchemize your trauma. You have to turn the dark into light. You just have to. That is what your soul signed up for.
Wow. So I'm loving this because, it's, again, giving me, because growing up, I was always told, you're so sensitive. You're too sensitive. You're so dramatic, and you're so sensitive. And so I did the inverse, where I was like, well, I got to shut this body down, because that's apparently a problem.
Yeah.
Never mind. And then there were assaults and all the things, right? So I also didn't feel like, I thought my body was the unsafe place. So like, what can I do to escape it?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I was like, well, if I'm also so sensitive, like I need to shut that down, which was basically shutting myself down. Not
shutting your heart down, shutting your expression down.
Yeah, all the things. Just
shutting all the gifts that you are, that you have as the woman that you are.
Right. Yeah. It was like, I didn't just flip that switch and didn't look back until flash forward way too many years.
Yeah, exactly. Until like you kind of have to. Like I think we all have those have to moments.
Yes.
Of like, you have to now journey with this, or like
right.
Some, like you're gonna die basically. I mean, that's extreme, but you know what I mean? Like you have to.
Yeah.
Like, and to me, that's like when the soul gets really loud. The soul is like, wake up. And astrology just put, and I had an incredible mentor, Deborah Silverman, and it puts it just all into this larger perspective. So then I was like, I was able to start feeling more empowered again. I was like able to be like, okay, like I'm doing this because this is my journey. And then I was able slowly, very slowly, to move away from victim and more into like creator, right? Of like, I am an active participant in my life. Life is not happening to me. And so, so like I went deep into astrology. Like I was a teacher of astrology. I coached astrologers. I obviously gave astrology readings, and I love it. I love it as a framework and a language. It's extraordinary, especially like from the soul perspective. It connects you to the larger picture. And but then what started to happen after a while is that, astrology is a language more than anything else. And unless you're intentional, it actually doesn't bring you into your body.
Right. It's very cerebral in that sense.
Yeah, it's conceptual, it's cerebral, it's a language, which is the mind-body connection is so important. But like, so I was like, okay, but this isn't actually, this is like a modality, but like, it's not, it's just one thing. You know, we have, again, my biggest learning this lifetime so far has been like relationship to the body and actually learning to be with emotions, expression, sensation to create more space in our nervous system to deal with the craziness of life.
Right.
Essentially.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
It's interesting because yesterday I was driving from Santa Fe to Denver, and I went through the valley route.
I'm sure it was so beautiful.
Which was gorgeous instead of 25 like highways, whatever. And
is there fall color?
Yeah, it was like starting. I'm like, oh my God, I'm driving into fall.
Yeah.
Literally. I'm like, and it's going to keep going because I'm going to go to the upper Midwest where there's going to be even more fall happening. So I'm like, wow,
beautiful.
It's so wild. I left at the end of summer and now I'm driving into fall. It's a very strange phenomenon in and of itself. But I had this great encounter with someone at a coffee shop that I stopped at in Moffett, Colorado. And he and I were off, he did a little video with me. Anyway, he was saying, we're really all just rays of sunshine. And I was like, yes, we are, Hunter. And we were chatting about, like, wouldn't it be great if we all just spent more time being rays of sunshine to each other, with each other, like in person, basically, because that's where it's at, right? And I was like, yeah. And I was so jazzed up from that the whole rest of the drive, I was like bopping along, like, woo, rays of sunshine.
Yeah.
So I feel that, like that. But that was in the body, the collective, like all of these connection points to the bigger picture, not just about me. And I have agency there to see myself and others as rays of sunshine.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Me, like I have to remind myself that like, for me, it's like actually about like, can we just cultivate more joy and delight, which to me essentially is without bypassing, right? Which is a whole thing, like, and my body wouldn't let me bypass anymore,
Right.
But ultimately, like, yeah, can you cultivate more joy? And delight has been an energy that I've been like really journeying with lately. That's just like, can you be delighted? And it's, there's so many ways we could go with this conversation, but it's like, I think in a lot of ways, it's like the government, whoever you want to call it, like almost doesn't want us to be happy, like it's like, and actually like that's such a place of agency and empowerment to be like, I'm still going to choose like joy today in this world, in this really important time that we are here and alive,
Yes.
Yeah, so I really love that.
Yeah. It's rays of sunshine and joy, delight, yet pleasure. All of those are, to me, not interchangeable maybe, but sort of all definitely connected and sometimes the other side of the same coin. They flip around for me, like what I call it. So.
And what I think I have to say, this piece around spiritual bypassing in this moment is like, in the spiritual community, there's a lot of bypassing. There's a lot of like just ascension, kind of like I'm happy, like, and actually ignoring expression. And so
that's where the astrology for you was like, it was limited in that respect.
Yeah, you could say, yeah,
but there was
for
more
sure.
there for you, like, oh, this plus.
Totally.
How do I connect that down into myself, my physical self?
Yeah, and that was around the time that I started journeying with the feminine, basically, which is the feminine is expression of life, and expression of the heart, love, expression of love. And I found some new teachers, and I started going on this journey of feminine embodiment, and a big premise there is like this acceptance of what is. Like, can you be in the embodiment, in the expression of what is? And that could be like, today you're feeling frustrated. Today you're feeling resistance. Today you're feeling like a ray of sunshine. Today you're feeling like joy, you know? And that opened up the whole world of Tantra and the whole world. That's when I really started to dive into the erotic and Tantra, and sort of, it was the beginning of like where I am now with those big letters, BDSM.
I crack myself up because that's where I'm like, okay, this is where like hella sheltered, hella, I don't know if sheltered, but you know, sort of like, I don't know what I don't know. And that's like not scary. That's not quite the right word. Maybe for a long time in my life.
Well, it's taboo.
That would have been scary because it's like, it's just not done.
Yeah.
You just don't talk about that. Well, why not? Actually, but that was like, I'm like, oh, I've stepped a little closer to some sort of like release of freedom. Like it may not be my path, and I don't have to be like nervous about it. But this is why I was like,
and it's interesting to just even be with, oh, I feel nervous.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm like, that's why I was like, I really want to talk to her because this makes me very uncomfortable.
Exactly.
On the one hand, very nervous. I'm also extremely curious. It's been a touch point for me when I've been around other, like specifically men who talk about it. So there's probably an element of, you know, history there for me that just registers, right? But I always register that as a threatening thing. So, and I'm not saying that's what it ends up being, but in my composition of experiences, you know, I'm like, so then I'm like, nope, shut down, like, never mind, alert, you know? And so that's why I was like, okay, we have to have this conversation, you know, in its full picture.
I love it. I mean, and like, I really welcome the discomfort, you know, and often like, I mean, when we slow down and we're like with the sensation of discomfort, it's actually not that different than like excitement or aliveness, you know, and so much of like the journey within BDSM and Tantra is actually being with the full spectrum of life, from grief to love, from death to life, right? The full spectrum of feeling and what it means to be alive, and learning how to be with those sensations in your body. Like, so from this perspective of like, I want to feel more pleasure, then I also actually need to have the capacity to feel grief. Because it's all sensation in the body. It's all sensation.
Well, and the pelvis holds a lot of grief.
Yeah.
Like this is a very powerful spot, this pelvic area, because it also holds the grief. And if I can release it, I can have more freedom. But that grief will sit right there and block off the pleasure, literally in one of the pleasure centers.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting that you went right to the pelvis, because when I think about pleasure, I think about the whole body. Like this is pleasure, like putting a fingernail on my arm, you know, like part of Tantra and especially BDSM is like, it doesn't even have to be sexual or involve the genitals in any way.
Good point. See, like, Hella has a very narrow, like...
But the world does.
Yeah, this is why I want to have this conversation. Yeah. Because I have, now that I've done all this work, I can feel pleasure in just the light touch. And I get great pleasure from giving the light touch and stroking the arm and things like that. And it's no sex involved of any kind, right? Or any of that necessarily. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so, you know, the sort of nature of the feminine is like to follow what feels good. Follow what feels good. And so, and in that, the definition of pleasure gets a lot wider, right? And what I've sort of learned to do in that practice is like with breath, with touch, with movement, follow what feels good in my body. And then from there, tap into erotic energy, tap into aliveness, tap into what we might call turn on, but like not turn on towards another, actually just like turn on in my body. In my body. The more that I move and breathe and feel what is here right now, can I amplify that and find turn on?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Your turn on is for you.
Oh.
Your pleasure is for you. You know, especially as like a female, right? We have endless capacity to cultivate and be with pleasure.
Right.
our bodies are made for it. Like we're oceanic, right? It's like a wave comes through, it crashes, comes back down, it rises again, you know, and again, pleasure as simple as like, a sigh. To like, yeah, full on genital stimulation or something.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
Because like these are like you're sort of coalescing of different disparate thoughts I've had or experiences or sort of where I am on my personal journey, because I'm now in training to be a somatic practitioner. So there's a lot of intense work that happened, especially in the last year, and is ongoing.
Totally.
You know, so I know I'm like, okay, I've come a really long way, and there's more here.
Yeah.
For sure. And there's more I can process out.
Yeah.
That's still stuck in there. And I'm excited because I'm like, oh, there are levels of freedom that I hear levels of freedom in what you're describing that I know are possible and that I've sometimes experienced. And I would like more of that, please.
Yeah.
More, please, you know, because
Yeah.
it's the freedom part of that, of the feel good.
Yeah, the liberation.
Yeah, it's a total liberation. It's like almost like I don't give a fuck in a
Yeah.
good way. I
Yeah.
give a fuck about you all, and I give a fuck about myself, but I don't give a fuck about
Yeah.
how it all plays out. At the end of the day, it's all going to be all right.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to flow with the thing. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and I just really want to honor you for like doing this somatic work. Like it is, a lot of people don't get there, and it is such a journey.
Yeah. Well, it
Such a
started
journey.
accidentally because I joined a writing group that happened to be a somatic writing group to write my memoir.
That's
If-
amazing.
I'm not sure I would have done that if I had known what that was going to be like.
You wrote a memoir.
Yeah, but I within the container that was like right from your body, and I was like, what? What does that even mean?
That's really cool.
Yeah, and that's how it started, and so that's like, oh, I just sort of followed these. I just kept saying yes, and then and that's how I ended up here, and I'm glad. Like it was clearly what it was supposed to be.
So this is an example of you following your feminine.
Exactly.
You were following
Yeah.
your yes. You were tuning in. You were listening to your intuition, and you were following what felt good.
Right.
And look where it's leading you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the way to Rays of Sunshine with Hunter
Yeah,
and
and
Moffat.
Moffat, which is like a gorgeous part of
I mean,
Colorado.
it's beautiful.
Oh my God.
And then driving, just like bopping along and like singing and, you know, having a grand old time. you know.
I want to say I love that you mentioned memoir because I feel like I have a memoir in me, like, because I just have like so many chapters.
Yeah, you do.
Like, and so it's just cool to like get that little plug, that reminder of like, do you want to write? Because I'm always like, I need to write more. I need to write more. I want to write more. So anyway, that's a fun like reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, so many of us are underexpressed, and so many of us actually don't even know how to begin with that, you know? And my journey of the last few years, like I found this feminine embodiment and tantra, which led me to the big BDSM, which we'll get to in a minute, but is really been a journey of expression through breath, through sound, through movement, and really learning to like feel into the truth of my heart in the moment and move it, breathe it, sound it, you know, and a lot of this is done like in practice. So it's like I'm like actually like in a
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
You know, contained, held space, like even if it's just me like setting a timer and being like, I'm gonna go into this for 20 minutes. And a journey of being with sensation, pain, and pleasure. And what that's done is it's just opened up my nervous system. It's created so much more space in my nervous system to be with all the ways that life works me and works us as humans. I get worked a lot. I like to think lots of people do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Probably more than we all realize or care to admit.
I know. Yeah. Like we're not really talking about it always. Yeah. And a huge part of that has been a reclamation of my erotic expression. And so when I say erotic, I don't mean sexual in nature, but I do mean the energy that flows through all of life, that flows through the earth, that is creation energy, that brings everything alive on this planet, that creates babies, and that if I slow down and I breathe, I can feel just like moving through my spine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this can be amplified and turned into arousal and lead to sexual experiences. And it can also just be for me and just get really big. And I can just feel the energy of life force energy, the erotic moving through me. And this is what scares people.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Exactly.
It has a lot of power, and it's like scary to people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the
me.
world is scared of it. I mean, the
Right.
erotic it creates life and it destroys life, and in simplest terms, right? It is the thing that is like vibrating in this planet in all of us. And so it is naturally the most pleasure and the most enlivening, and it's also terrifying. And so this is why it's suppressed. Because it's like that much power. If everyone was connected to their life force and really allowing their erotic life force to move through them, we would all be walking and moving with a lot more power than we are right now. And a lot more empowerment around like who am I as an individual, and what is my authentic soul expression right now on this planet right now. And so, I mean, yeah, you can go into all the patriarchal things of just like all the suppression, women and men, and basically this work, I mean, so BDSM, like I started journeying with BDSM like 4 years ago, and honestly, it's fun. So the acronym, it's like the acronym like almost doesn't even matter,
Right.
But it's I think the acronym is like bondage, dominance, sadism, and masochism. And basically BDSM, how do I want to describe this, is it's incredible. It basically takes everything that lives in the shadow and everything that we consider taboo and creates a place for it.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's going to be different for every single individual. It's working with specific polarities. The most famous, sort of well-known polarity within that is dominance and submission. And so I'm curious, just even saying that, what have you heard about dominance and submission or BDSM?
I don't know that, honestly, this is why I was so curious. Like, I'm not sure I've heard much of anything, but anytime I've heard about it, it's come usually from the male voice, a male body, and slash voice. And I think it scares me because of the power, and the dominance part is very disturbing to me, because I've always been the one, I've always felt in the submissive in my life, right? In general, not in all areas, like make small, submit, play along to get along, go along to get along, all that stuff. So I think it triggers all of those things, only now added, like it's not safe. It doesn't feel safe in my computer brain, right?
Yeah.
Because in my computer brain, it's like, oh, it takes me back to, being assaulted at 13 and violated and, and everything from there through domestic violence of various forms, right? So in my brain, it goes straight to violence, I guess, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Like as I'm talking it through, I think it goes straight to violence, danger, and it's going to make me small. Yeah. And I will have no agency.
Yeah.
And that's I think what comes up for me.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, like that's what comes up.
No, I really love you sharing that. And I think you're like really not alone in just even what that term ignites in people. And I think it brings up the topic of consent for me, where all of those things that happened to you in your life were outside of your consent. You were not consenting to being assaulted, to being made small, to, numerous examples of where there was some form of power over you that you were not in consent to.
Right.
Which is pervasive.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And what BDSM does in a very specific container, and this is like a huge conversation here, is everything that happens within consent. So just even that shift of like anything we talk about in the BDSM realm that is held by professionals and people who know what they're doing, it is 100% consensual. And it is actually determined by the person in the sub role.
Got it. Okay.
It is actually for the sub. So just breaking down dom sub just a little bit more, domination in the BDSM realm is around attention out and creating a coherent field and holding a container for the sub, the submissive, to go on a journey in themselves, attention in, and go on a journey that is designed for them and held by the dom for the sub.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a whole other, that's
Totally.
not what I had in my head.
But I think what
Right.
you had in your head, it actually what you're getting triggered by is all the ways that power was abused outside of your consent.
Right. Right. And I think, it's funny you say the word consent because it was in there. I'm like, I wanted to ask about consent because so much of the work I do in my somatic container, in my practice and where I'm learning, it's always consent is number one because there's lots of touching of body parts. Just laying a hand on your shoulder even or whatever, just to rest the hand there, right? Sometimes. And there's always consent. Every time, may I put my hand on your shoulder? May I this? May I that? Right? So anyway, I was curious about that consent.
So what BDSM does, I love that you feel discomfort because, again, it's highlighting all the ways that power is abused in our world. At an individual level, at a collective level, but like how power has been abused. I have experienced abuse of power. You have experienced abuse of power. And a lot of that lives in the shadow. It lives in the place that we're not allowed to look at, that we're not in relationship with, that we don't talk about. And what BDSM is doing is in a safely held consensual container, it is making power dynamics explicit and journeying with them in a relational way between dom, between sub. And in those places is actually where we can heal and transmute the abuses of power that we have experienced.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, mind, again, blown situation.
BDSM, in my journey now, about 12-year journey of like healing, BDSM has become my favorite modality because it is so many of us have experienced abuses of power, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and it is my belief that the only way we can actually heal and transmute those and turn that into empowerment or turn that into ray of sunshine, joy, delight, pleasure is actually stepping fully into the shadow where it lives, making it explicit, and bringing it all the way back in through these relational dynamics of dom and sub. And essentially rewiring the places in our body and the places in our nervous system and taking back the agency.
Right. Well, it's funny you say that because it was like 2 years ago. Yeah, it was actually 2 years ago, September. I was in a situation where some dude, older dude, doesn't matter. And I had just turned 50, mind you. Okay. And had done and I thought plenty of work, not yet this full-on somatic work. I'd written anyway, doesn't matter. Point is, he was, crossing lines and I just froze. Like I just sat there and I couldn't get up.
You couldn't say no.
Couldn't say no. I couldn't, I tried, but then it was be like, please stop. But then I would just sit there. I just sat there and I could not physically get myself up off this bench situation and walk away. Never mind kick him in the gonads. That wasn't even necessary. It was like, just get up and walk, and I could not move.
Yeah, you were frozen.
I was totally frozen,
Yeah.
and that hadn't happened quite like that in a very long time. And I was like, oh no, I don't want that. Like, I want to claim my agency back. The next time that happens, because it will probably happen where I will feel myself freeze, or I will begin to freeze, I want to know what to do to take care of myself and unfreeze.
Yeah.
And get up and walk away, or whatever I need to do in that moment, whatever feels good in that moment to take care of myself. And so that's when I really went bonkers pants on my work.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And this is even like a few steps before BDSM is like, I mean, knowing our nervous system responses, like, and for so many of us, freeze is it is like the most common. Like, we freeze in our body, and then we just kind of fall into this habituated state of like frozen. And I would imagine in your somatic program, you're slowly cultivating the capacity to like unfreeze.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I had almost a year later, I had an opportunity, totally different circumstance, where I felt myself freeze, like I was bending over my head,
like collapse almost.
I was collapsing and freezing all at the same time. But then my training kicked in, and I went, and I in my head said, okay, Hella, you're gonna lift your head up, you're gonna push your shoulders back, you're gonna sit up, and you're gonna turn around, you're gonna look that person in the eyeballs, and you're gonna say what you gotta say, and then you're gonna get up and walk away.
Yeah.
And I could do that. It was a totally different particulars, but the feeling was the same. Those power vibes. I froze, caved in, and I was like, nope. And I could talk my way. I could coach myself out of it, basically.
Yeah, you basically like found your spine in a way.
Yes.
It's like you like slowly are like, okay, you found your body again,
Yes.
right? It's like, where am I in space and time? Okay, like my shoulders, my back, you know? And I mean, this leads me to the piece around finding our no's and boundaries.
Right.
Which like, you know, in the work that I do in working with people in intimacy and helping them cultivate more capacity for intimacy and going into a BDSM scene, I mean, the number one thing is teaching people about boundaries, which like so many of us were not taught, have no access to. Like, and so there's this piece around like feeling our genuine yes, learning like somatically, sensationally, what does a yes feel like in my body, and what does a no feel like in my body? You know, and like, even, I mean, it's kind of back to like the anger discussion that we talked about a bit ago, like actually cultivating the ability to be with a no. You know, like I'm a no to this, period.
Yeah.
You know, and then initially there can be like a lot of contraction around that for people, and getting to the place where the no can feel quite expansive.
Right. And actually can bring about more intimacy.
Well, of course, that's the whole point, is like when you're honoring, I mean, the biggest pieces that come up in my work are boundaries and desire. Is learning how to know what we don't want and we're no to, and learning how to know what we want. And it seems so basic, and yet it's so hard for all of us. It's hard for me as a human, and I'm in this work.
Right.
You know, like, what do I actually desire in this moment in connection? Now we're sort of talking about being in connection with another human. What do I desire, and what do I know that I'm a no to?
So what I'm hearing is there's like a couple of steps. So does that happen in the BDSM container, meaning the preamble steps, if you want to call it that, like where it's first with yourself and identifying where you are in yourself and what your no's are, or what you think your no's are, and what your yeses might be, and then experimenting with that, or I don't know if that's the right word, but then engaging with that in the presence of another person, in a scene of some sort.
Yes, and I would say a scene is actually further ahead. Like it's like a skill to cultivate outside of the erotic context, outside of BDSM. Like I want to invite everyone is like, what is a genuine yes in your body? What is a genuine no? And like actively practicing feeling into, what do I desire in this moment? And like what are my boundaries? For example, like if you're going to visit your parents for the weekend, what are my boundaries for the weekend? I'm a no to going out to eat with them. I'm a no to like taking care of my mother past 6 p.m., like whatever it is. And so there's like this cultivating that ability to have boundaries. And then when we bring that into an intimacy context or a BDSM context, before we step into any connection or play, because BDSM is actually a lot about play, is we create the container. And how do we create a container? We create it through boundaries and structure.
Right.
We create it through, this is what I'm a yes to today, and this is what I'm a no to today. We start there.
Right.
And so in that way, we are entering a field of consent.
Right. And I like that you said today, because it could...
Exactly.
Because what I might feel yes to yesterday, I may not be feeling a yes to today, and vice versa. Like today, that might be a no for me.
Well, exactly. And you always get to add boundaries. So we might start playing, and you might be like, I want to explore spanking. Like, for example, like spanking is something that a lot of people, it's relatively PG, I would say, in the BDSM world. And you might get in and be like, oh, I actually don't like this. I don't want this anymore. Great.
Right.
We're complete. Yeah. And so that is where a lot of your fear and discomfort is coming from. And it's where a lot of the misunderstanding is that a power is abused all the time in this world. And many of us, most of us, maybe every single human, experiences abuses of power or assault, or things have happened to us where it was outside of our consent. And so in a constructed scene where it is fully consensual and it is designed based on what is the submissive a yes to and what is the submissive a no to today, we can actually create a lot of expansion for people. And you're exactly right that like it creates an environment for deeper intimacy because we're playing within the structure of like the yes. You know?
Yeah.
And how that gets to feel really good. And then often what happens is you realize, oh, you have way more capacity than you realized. And oh, this thing that was like seemed really scary, oh my God, I really like this. Whoa, this is opening up a part of me that has lived deep in the shadow that I've just shoved away. And now there's all this new space in my nervous system because like, oh, like this feels really good. I feel really alive. I feel really powerful.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to pause there because I don't even know where to go in because it's giant. And
I think that's been a really great sort of like primer, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like anybody can wrap their head around. At least, I mean, I certainly can now. What we're talking about. Okay.
So what I would just say is BDSM is misrepresented by media all the time. So 50 Shades of Grey, bad example of BDSM. Very bad example of like messy power dynamics and non-consent. And so there's a lot of representations of BDSM in the media that just perpetuate our fears. And I would actually say the show Dying for Sex, which is a really well done TV show that's all about death. So already we're confronting, in the TV show, they're confronting a thing that we like to push into the shadow.
Right.
That like a lot of us like to deny that, oh, we're all scared of dying.
Right. Yeah, sure.
You know?
Who wants to talk about that?
Yeah, exactly. And she explores BDSM. She explores kink and BDSM, and it's really well done. And so that's a great way to get just like a little snippet of like, oh, this is actually really fucking safe, really expansive, really accessible, and really fucking empowering. Really empowering.
Right. Right.
And like gives us more access to pleasure, joy, delight.
Right. I love that we keep coming back to joy, pleasure, delight.
I mean, because we have to remember that.
Yeah, because otherwise it's like, forget about it.
Well, and like in this world, you know, I very much live in this transformational world where we're going after our shadows a lot and we're going into the pain. And it's like, we have to remember that like, actually we get to be it's, to me, the whole point is happiness.
100%. No, I that's the thing. Like if I, if this work didn't result, hadn't, weren't, doesn't, if the work I have been doing in this somatic universe of things, both one-on-one with my practitioner and now training and in group situations, if it weren't leading to more joy, happiness, and delight or pleasure, I've had enough pain.
Yeah.
I don't need, I need to bring the pain up and out to give it over and let it go. And knowing that some wounds will always be with me and they will get pushed on and I will want to freeze and all the things. And now I have tools, and now I have more often than not joy, pleasure, and delight.
Yeah.
To counter that. That's where I live, and this other stuff happens when it comes up. But I live in the other place, the joy.
Yeah, you have more capacity, right? You have more capacity to be alive as a human. And, there is this piece of like, life is going to be hard. Life is going to be sad. Life is going to be uncomfortable. And the more that we can just like learn to be with that and be like, okay, like it's here, I'm going to open to it instead of collapse, instead of freeze, the more access we have to joy, delight, pleasure, and that like life is a roller coaster, and like, and for me, so much of it is about opening into, like open into the sensation of like, today I am frustrated. Can I open into it, feel it? And almost every time on the other end of that, I find pleasure.
Right. Yeah, I love
because
that.
I'm opening my body. I'm breathing. I'm sounding. I'm moving. I'm letting the frustration like express. Oh my God. And now I'm an express being, and I find gratitude for being alive again. And like, I feel my heart being buoyant and wide, and and it's a journey. It's such a journey,
So if someone out there listening is like, okay, that sounds really awesome, I want to explore that. What would be some of your recommendations or suggestions, just, on like where to begin or what to look for in a person who can help them facilitate that, because you work in this field. Like I feel like you're a safe person.
Yeah.
It's you clearly know what you're talking about. You are have clear boundaries, that you're very clear about consent and all of those things, and how to build a safe container. How would you recommend someone, how do you,
I get what you're asking.
You know what I mean? Like look for that, or like, what's the signs? I don't know. I'm not sure how to put that.
Well, I think I have to start. I think I have to make another plug for somatic work. So like, get a somatic therapist. If you have no relationship with your body, get a somatic therapist, right? Like just start to cultivate the ability to like be with feelings, emotions, sensations in your body. And if you are like, hearing about BDSM, about the erotic, if something like happens to you, or even if you're in a relationship, like so many of my clients are married clients and their intimacy is struggling, because of life. A couple great resources are, one, there's a website, Sacred Arrows, that is a great website of practitioners that work in Tantra, intimacy, and some BDSM. And everyone is vetted. There's obviously a range of professionals in any industry that you go to, but that's a great place to be like, okay, like who am I called to on this site? Whose copy jumps out at me? Like who do I feel drawn to? And that would be a great site to just sort of like, if you wanted to work with a practitioner and say like, I want to like, what is this? What is Tantra? What does it mean to be fully alive? What does erotic liberation mean? I want more joy and pleasure in my life. Another great resource is, so especially for females, like feminine embodiment work. So one of my main teachers is John Wineland, and a lot of women that have studied under him. And so that's an example of a place to go, just even on Instagram, to start to sort of like understand like, what is feminine embodiment? What is feminine expression? What is polarity, feminine and masculine? And then, I want to actually give a plug to a huge community I'm a part of here in Colorado. So I'm a part of a community carnival dungeon, and we do a lot of things, but we have quarterly events that are big, like sort of kink BDSM. I don't even want to call it a party because they're sober events, and it's a super safely held container, but it's like a gathering, and it's quite festive, where people can come and and there's like, over 30 professionals there, and kind of get a taste of like, oh, like this is what BDSM and kink is. And oh my God, it's so much more sacred than I thought it was. And whoa, like I feel so safe and met, and a little nervous, but like so held. And so that's like an amazing place to just like kind of start to feel into like, what is my kink? So even when I say kink,
I was going to say, what do you mean by kink? That's a great point.
Kink is like anything that is taboo to you. So
like pulling my hair kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a pretty PG example. Right, but okay.
I'm a PG kind of gal.
I love it. I love the PG.
Pull my hair. That's
but we start there.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So anything that's taboo. So and when I say taboo, anything that feels like we maybe aren't allowed or shouldn't do it. Most likely, if there's sensation there, you probably would like it. Like honestly.
Oh, interesting. Like if you're like, not sure about that, you probably might want to lean into it.
Yeah, with the right person, right? Finding a professional, like, or a partner that you really trust. Like, hey, like, can you spank me a little bit and like call me a little girl? So anything that feels taboo to you, anything that feels like I don't think I'm supposed to do that, and you'll notice as you get into the field more, it evolves and changes, right? And all of a sudden you're doing things that you would have never imagined yourself doing. You're like, I feel really alive and turned on by this. Another one of my top teachers, so this is another great resource, is Om Rapani. He's one of my biggest teachers in the BDSM realm. And he always says, like, if there's more arousal, that is a win. He's like, then this is where we get into like actually trusting erotic energy. Like, again, in a container that we've created, like if we're finding arousal is alchemizing and clarifying and creating more space in our nervous system. And this is based on the premise that like myself and many other practitioners in the field, I trust the erotic. I trust erotic life force to do its thing.
So the word trust is so like, we have a lot of synchronicities here. It's really,
cool.
Really quite, I'm delighted. I love, and I use that word a lot.
I love delight. I'm delighted. These days.
And I know, I'm like, what? It's been like a new word, not a new.
Me too.
Like, why do I say it all the time now? It's delightful. I'm like, what? Like, what a weird, not weird, like just an odd choice.
I know.
As a 52-year-old, I'm like, that's delightful. I'm like, what is happening? Anyways,
it must be in the field because it's honestly come into my world, delight.
Yes.
More in the last 6 months.
Yeah. So it's like delightful, whatever. What if there's another way? So yeah, okay. That's why I'm like, we're in the same field, or we're in the field together.
We are.
Yeah.
Truly.
We really are.
I mean, this is collective energy.
Yes.
And like there are pillars that are like holding this point of another way.
Yeah. 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 No, I'm feeling that. And, but that thing of trust, because so much of my work in the last, I would say year, and certainly like has coalesced more fully in the last probably 6 months, or certainly since the start of 2025, has been trusting. I can trust myself.
Yes.
So, so the next layer below that means I can trust the erotica within myself. And when I've noticed that it makes an appearance a lot more often now to signal to me something.
Yeah.
Like that feeling in my body is like, note to self, it's a positive.
Exactly.
And it's sometimes when I'm thinking about X, Y, or Z, it'll start happening. I'm like, oh, okay.
Totally. It's super connected to creativity, like ideas and stuff. And, I even want to add another layer because so much of my journey has been self-trust as well. Like, and I think it's a lifelong journey, and so then it's like, okay, yeah, trust the erotic, trust my arousal. And then the other layers for me are like trust life and trust the mystery.
Oh.
Like actually learning to trust uncertainty and the unknown.
That's beautiful.
I mean, to me, it actually comes down to that. Like, as so many of us have moved through the world protected and for valid reasons, right? And over controlling, and actually like stepping into choosing to submit to life and to trust life and trust how much we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and like actually open to that. And that's really where I've been. Like these last 6 months, I have been journeying with terror, to be honest. And I think it's because I'm opening to the true mystery of life.
Right. Right.
That I don't know.
Right. Wow.
And I won't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And like, and the greater, this piece of submission. Submission is actually about submitting to life. Submitting to the mystery, and not in a way where you collapse and you freeze and you give up agency, actually in this way that's like, I am fully here. And I submit to you, life. I am listening. I am in co-creation with you. And I don't know.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect place for us to end, because I mean, now there's more to know, more mystery to pursue.
Exactly. Like it's just a discovery. Life is a journey.
Well, I love that, because I mean, that's what I've heard in your whole story, or in your journey is, first it was this mystery around your illnesses and your body breaking down, and like the feeling like a victim, and because of the unknown, like I'm not understanding, not knowing what's happening to me, my body's betraying me, and it's the enemy, and what is this?
Totally.
And then that pursuit of healing and finding those pathways to the places through the somatic work that now are opening up a different kind of, like, a mystery in the good sense.
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
It feels like a full circle to
Totally.
me. Like it started in mystery of like bad, like danger,
Scary.
or scary, a scary unknown, and now it's like an excitement unknown of like what could be possible.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it's actually so beautiful to hear you reflect that back, even just for me to be like, wow. You know? Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. This has been delightful. Really, I say
Truly
that word all the
delightful.
time. Really delightful. Like, oh my gosh. All right. Well, I will be definitely stay in touch. We never know how paths may cross here.
Totally.
And I'm more open now, honestly, and more comfortable, at least considering.
Yeah.
Some of these other areas.
Well, and just starting to trust your arousal, right? Like you said.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's here, and like creating a self practice around it. To me, that's the number one thing, especially females can do.
Right.
Create a self pleasure practice, a self practice of just like being with your expression. Maybe it turns into arousal. Maybe it's just you looking weird and awkward, but like you're expressing.
Right. Right.
And usually at the bottom of that, there is pleasure.
Right. Right. Okay, great. All right, that's awesome. I love it. All right, well,
Yay.
thank you.
Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Yes, okay. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you for listening to The Stories That Sparkle, a space I created for women to share in their own voices the intricacies of their stories. And another huge, big, just enormous thank you to Kristen for meeting up with a total stranger and being so open and willing to chat with me about her experience and to share her story and her journey through into BDSM work and intimacy and female embodiment and just all the things. And like we talked about, somatic work was the precursor for her to all of that. And like I said, a practitioner in training, I know firsthand through my own work how empowering and how powerful that kind of work can be. So to help all of y'all who may be curious or interested in looking into that a little bit more, whether it is as a precursor to any kind of other work like BDSM or anything else or not, there are a host of practitioners, not only that she mentions, but certainly people I know and recommend that I know personally or have been recommended to me. So I have put a list of all of those resources in the show notes. You will find a whole range of people you can choose from. And if you have any questions about any of that, please do not hesitate to send me a message. I will be happy to answer those for you and share certainly with you my personal experience with doing somatic work. All right. Having said all that, if you are enjoying the stories that sparkle, please do me a small favor and pass it on, the show, the episode, any other episode, whichever, to just 2 friends and invite them to download, listen, subscribe, rate, review, all the things, and help me get the word out about all these amazing women and help me keep recording more of their stories. More importantly, if you have a story you want to share or a topic you'd like me to cover in an episode of the podcast, drop me a line to hellarator@substack.com or leave a comment on this episode, because together we bring light into dark places.